What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the TCG Scrubs podcast. I'm Oscar, and we have some pretty cool special guests and some... Wait. We have a pretty cool special guest and some not so pretty cool special guests. One of the first uncool ones is Joe of Joe's Corner.
Hey,
how's it going, Joey?
Pretty early today, but making it work.
Yeah, we're going way early. And then the other not so cool is I don't know if he's frozen. Team ARG's Colin. Oh no, he's super frozen. We recorded this on Discord, and it looks like he may have lagged out on this. Shows how uncool he is, right? And the awesome guest of the day is Josh Patton. What's up, man?
Hey there. I at some point I didn't know if I was.
Yeah. I wanted to leave everybody in the air.
Going through it, I was like, oh man.
Told nobody about the intro.
I loved it.
And as always, special thanks to Happy Little Hug Factory for being a channel sponsor. If you guys aren't familiar with, they do have sealed product for the starter decks. I do believe they're out of booster boxes, right, Colin?
They had gotten a couple in. I don't know if they sold out already or not, but they had gotten about 6 more.
But, if you're looking for those, hurry up and go look, see if they still have them. You can visit the link in the description below. They know we'll send you over.
They also have singles.
I was going to get there, don't worry. They also have singles for the new set. So if you're looking to pick up certain cards, you can go ahead and grab them there. And they have a buy list. So maybe there's a few cards you're looking to get rid of. You can visit them as well. And I think that'd be the topic of today, is kind of like the secondary market of things today, right?
Yeah.
But also, they kind of have this like growing family of sponsored channels. And if you want to check out something that maybe Final Fantasy TCG is a channel called EmoTempest. How are they?
It's a channel that Happy Little Hug Factory sponsored, and they deal pretty much, as far as I can tell, exclusively with Final Fantasy trading card games. So if you guys play that game, be sure to check them out. And yeah, like I said, part of the Happy Little Hug Factory
family
circle.
Part of the happy little family.
Oh, there we go.
I pitched that to him. Family. I said Happy Little Hug Family. I pitched that to him.
Happy Little Hug Family.
That's cute.
There we go. And also, a lot of things wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for patrons. Patreon.com/TCG Scrubs. If you'd like to support the channel and help make things get better here and there, little bits. I know Colin had some ideas. We'll see how those play out.
Ooh.
And
oh yeah, that's right. I gotta contact that person.
Yeah. And speaking of patrons, we do have one with us today. Josh Patton.
Hi guys.
Now, Colin, I'll let you take over here since you know more about what's going on, I guess.
Yeah, well, if you're part of our Discord, you probably see him pop up. He's SigmaPatton on there. If you couldn't use deductive reasoning, like Oscar.
Probably best moment of the whole GP. For those who are new, who don't remember the story, we meet Josh as soon as we get there. Doesn't click the whole SigmaPatton thing. I remember being messaged by Josh, or I don't know, it was correct. Being messaged by SigmaPatton on Discord saying, "Hey, we should meet up at the GP." And so I messaged back after like 2 or 3 rounds, like, "Hey, where are you? Or who are you? Like, we've been here." And then Josh is like,
I don't know if I've met you yet.
Yeah, he's holding his phone. Like, "It's me. I'm SigmaPatton." I'm like, "Oh."
That is hilarious.
But you'll see him post a lot of times. I think this set, most recently, what he did for the past couple sets of like breaking down how the rarity works and why you thought, like for like this new set, why you thought people were the community was incorrect in what they were thinking they wanted from the boxes as far as how often to pull things and everything like that. So I always found those sort of like little paragraphs you posted interesting. So I thought it'd be good to like sort of share that with everyone, and then we could sort of delve into that a little bit further and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad I'm here to share this information. This is something I've been passionate about for a while now, and it's proved really good for me, and so I'm happy to share this information with the community.
It's also cool to get insight on how it is to sell on TCG Player, because that's not something I'm familiar with. I'm just used to buying.
Yeah. I mean, I use the same screen name on there. It's cross-platform, so if you ever see SigmaPatton online, odds are that's me. So
that That's kind of like how not that I sell stuff, but how I am with just like username stuff. I use the same username for like everything, except for I forget what. There's one random video game, and I went and put it in, and it said it was taken, and I was like, how? Because it's like yours, where it's such a unique, specific name. I was like, how in the heck did anyone even like cross their mind to type those letters in that order? And I was very upset. So there's an imposter out there somewhere, but that was. Like,
but only on this one game. Like you've never crossed paths with this other guy before.
No, it was one very specific game, and just nothing else ever again.
I'm really hoping now there's like someone out there who every game he goes on, he's like, how is somebody taking my name every time? He can just never get his name.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so you sell stuff on TCG Player.
I was like, segue back into the main subject again. After that.
But yeah, no, I do. I sell on TCG Player. I've been doing it for I think probably about a year and a half now. I went in with a theory and a goal. The idea was that I want to play Force of Will with a net expense of $0. That is my big goal. So essentially I want to maintain a playset collection of every card printed, right, in base rarity. So that way I can build whatever decks I want. I can go compete and do whatever I want to do. But then I also want to have that like zero balance at the end of a year, right? So in the first year, that's impossible. You have to build your collection first. But then once I've actually like settled into this year and I had my base collection started, I've been able to get a playset of every collection or every set released this year, and I've kept my expense down. Actually, on the year, I'm up $8.
Nice.
That's really good.
It's something.
So yeah. No, I mean for not like I don't sell for a profit. Like I only try to offset my costs. Yeah. And so like I've put over $3,000 into the game this year, but I've also gotten over $3,000 out. $3,000 and $8.
Especially because like people call it they call it Magic cardboard crack, and it's just the whole thing. Like. I remember, I've heard, like, my friend says, like, oh my gosh, like, I look at my collection, I'm like, how much money have I spent on this? So I think it's really awesome that you're actually keeping it to, like, a net zero gain. That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, part of the compulsion that I have, I think, and the reason why I'm able to succeed in this market is I have a good inventory system, right? So I know where all my cards are. When I pack cards, I sort them right away. I get my collection set out. I get the cards online, and then I'm able to keep a system going. And it takes maybe 2-3 hours a week. I would say I put into maintaining, putting out the orders, and all of that stuff. But I've always been this way from the very beginning. When I started playing Magic and I started cracking packs, like I knew the monetary value of the cards that I had then. And so I was able to protect, categorize, and all that. And so it's awesome that I've been able to carry it into this game and be able to do this.
So I have a question.
What's up?
I guess first, do you crack packs in Enforceable?
Absolutely.
So then you mentioned you try and get like the playset in base rarity. Do you then like sell off your full arts and try and get regular arts?
Absolutely. So yeah, essentially every set, like my system is I do like 2 pre-releases and I buy 3 booster boxes every set, and that is basically what gets me close to my playset. And at that point I create I have like a trades list, and I maybe only have 12-15 cards that I need to round out my playset, right? But all of the full arts that I pulled, those go online, and I just sell those to offset the costs.
Got it. As somebody who I try and make sure I buy in base rarity as opposed to Colin, who tries to buy in full arts only. I totally get that. I think that's really awesome.
I mean, and what's cool about this game is that there's that is an option, right? The ability to bling every card, including commons. Like if I can't say it loud enough, please force the will, stick with these full arts. They are amazing. Don't ever go back to the foil and non-foil version, but without full arts for commons and uncommons. Your art is beautiful, and even the commons need full arts. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, whoever came up with the idea of doing full art common and uncommons, it was like the greatest idea I've ever seen. Like, that never even crossed my mind of, you could just do full art without the texturing for these low art rarity ones, and it makes no difference to them. They just have to remove that text box, which is two keyboard buttons.
It also
fantastic.
It also helped with the whole issue, because I remember in Alice clusters, like, there's just so many rarities to track. It's just like, what was the point of some of them after a while?
Yeah, rare and SR foils was weird.
That's a really cool, like, it's really cool that you have a system too, and it sounds like it's obviously working really well. Do you track like market trends and stuff? Do you do all that stuff?
No, for me, what I end up doing is I do some bulk collection buying. And so, like, when I'm on Force of Will Marketplace or whatever, I'll be scrolling through, and if I find somebody that's trying to off their collection, I'll kind of take a look at it and maybe feel where I value it and see if I can hit my expense quickly, like within a month, and then I can use the rest of that to filter into my just general income, right? If I can make up my dollar value quickly, I'll usually pick up that collection. And then so when I'm sorting that collection, that's when I'll go through the TCG player again, and I'll refresh myself with all the prices. But at the end of the day, oftentimes I don't find out till just like somebody randomly asks me. So I was down in Pennsylvania at the ARG Nationals, right? And I was trading with Ronnie Martin, and he asked me if I had any Mosasaurus. I'm like, yeah, I got like 3 Mosasaurus, and so I pull them out, and I'm looking on TCG Player, and I'm like, oh wow, there's only 1 left, and it is literally priced at $1, and I'm like, if anybody was really paying attention, that last Mosasaurus would not have been priced at $1. So like, this game is super unique because we stock out often on TCG Player, and so then it goes through a price reset. So, in that case, no, I ended up trading at whatever the value was on TCG Player, but I knew in the next collection that I bought that Mosasaurus was super undervalued. Yeah. And so when I was kind of pricing that out in my mind, I was like, I'm looking at these, and I'm like, okay, there's like 5 Mosasauruses in there. It's definitely not $1 a card now. Yeah. But that's really just kind of the only trends that I do, is like when I'm asked to look at something, I'll take a look. So like Majin Dark Elf. Majin Dark Elf is my new fun thing that just happened last week. Somebody asked me, they were like, yeah, I need Majin Dark Elves, and there's nothing on TCG Player. And I'm like, really? Let me take a look at my unsorted bulk.
Do you think that's just like regular like people are just like selling out, or do you think there's, because you hear a lot about people buying out collections and buying out certain cards and reselling to try and get a larger profit? Think any of that like market manipulation's happening? Because I don't really follow
so much. TCG Player is like my only reference here, because I don't sell on eBay, and I don't really buy from like Happy Little Hug Factory or anything like that. But if TCG Player stocks out, I kind of assume that the other stores are pretty stocked out of it too, right? But what I attest that to is, in this game, there is not a lot of drive to open a booster box, or to crack a booster box for money, right? We do that a lot in like Magic or in the other games, right? You have high value cards, and you open a $90 booster pack or booster box hoping to get $120, $150 worth of singles. That doesn't exist in this game. So the people that are selling online, there's only maybe a few companies that actually do box openings to sell singles. And so when there's not a lot of boxes being opened, there's not a lot of singles in the market. So a lot of this stuff just goes by the wayside. Plus, because there are no super financial gains to get from Force of Will, unless you're handling in like mass quantities, like your Happy Little Hug factories or stuff like that, that are handling almost the North American market, right? Because LGSs don't pick up singles, you know, there's very few of those. So unless you can capitalize on a big market like that, there's just not a lot of people opening boxes to sell singles. And so if that doesn't happen, then you don't see them online, right?
Okay.
And then plus, nobody pays attention. So
Yeah.
just like me, it's, oh, Majin Dark Elf's gone. All right, let me throw a couple into the pool, right?
Yeah.
You know, I find this often, like, I would list a card that I know should be listed for more. Like, so I'll list a card, it was a stock out, and so I'll throw it out there for $5. And then I see one of the bigger stores, they also notice this. And I don't know if there's something in the programming for TCG Player, but they end up just listing it for, like, way low. Like 84 cents. Like, if I have it listed for $5, they'll throw it on for, like, 84, which was, like, the market price. And I'll just be like, okay, we're not really paying attention to the market here. So I'll scoop up their copies at 84 cents. And I'll be like, no, you were wrong. Like, it's more expensive than that now. So, like, again, I don't know how much people are paying attention on TCG Player, because the market price that TCG Player sets, that's not a real value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There is not enough flow of cards in and out to establish a market price. Like Magic, cards fly in and out all the time on a single copy, right? So that market price, you can actually trend it up plus 2, 3, 5%, right? And it all kind of makes sense because there's enough in and out flow. Here, no, not at all. If the card is popular, it'll be stocked out soon.
Yeah.
And that's really what we have to go off of.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed like cards that are like higher than market price, and I've always thought like why that is.
Yeah, and it's just because the algorithm doesn't work for the flow of Force of Will. Like, there's just not enough flow to establish that number.
So I had a question. There used to be a video series that Jay Wheeler did where he did like kind of like the top most expensive cards for the month, or high value cards.
Yeah.
We were considering bringing that back, and I was just going to do it myself. So, in your opinion, would you rather see it done by the actual lowest or highest? I guess how would you base that price on? Like what TCG Player is showing that you said was not reliable, or which is what he did, or looking at lowest to like sold price, like, oh, this card's going for $10 at the cheapest type situation.
Yeah. So for me, all value is TCG min to me. That's it. Literally, when I value a card, it's how much can I get online and buy it for right now. Mm-hmm. That is literally the value for me. Anything else is just inaccurate in my mind. So, like, yeah, marketplace or market value, that doesn't do it. Yeah. If you are going to do the finances, I would try to do TCG min. I tell you what, that is difficult to do.
Yeah, because you can't sort
for
it
especially full arts. Like, TCG Player does not do a really good job. Like, you can't just filter all the full arts out and just go base rarities or just full arts. So, like, it is a little difficult to filter. But I know, and I remember watching some of his some of his videos, and he'd talk about the same cards every month or so, and it's because the market price didn't change. So there was a lot of stuff being missed by his videos, stockouts and stuff along those lines, you know. So yeah, I think if you did it, I'd avoid market value.
And would you, because he would filter out full arts, Ubers, special prints, or promos, like. Would you agree with filtering those things out as well, or would you like to see just the entire market here?
So, I would say yeah, probably filter those out, because at the end of the day, there are going to be more players that buy base rarity cards for playability, right? So when you're trying to value a card, I would say the base rarity is a good place to start. In no realm should a base rarity card actually go for more than what the full art does, right?
Yeah.
So, and then there's also other things that kind of fudge the full art value, and I know oftentimes the full arts will totally eclipse all base rarity prices. So I'd say if you're doing an actual market analysis, stick with the base rarities for sure. Yeah.
So moving into sort of the whole rarity of the cards and all that, your sort of takes on that. Well, do you want to give everyone sort of an in general summary of like what we're talking about before we get into that, and then we could sort of go into specifics as far as like your sort of set by set analysis of how the different rarities, the pull ratios, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I view rarity, right? Oftentimes players will just super rare is a super rare, rare is a rare, uncommon is a common, right? But essentially what you got to do is you got to look at what's available. So oftentimes when I would watch Rudy in Alpha Investments, he would talk a lot about the beta rares and talk about the print run and how much quantity of a specific rare actually exists. And that's where all the value was, right? There was not many of that card, right? So for that, I've kind of created just a little basis that I use to judge how much of a single card actually exists. And so what I do is when I open my booster boxes, I count all of the full arts, right? So I separate them, how many full art supers, how many full art rares, how many full art uncommons, commons, and then I also count out the supers, like how many supers did I actually receive in this pack, right? And then from there, I'm able to kind of drum up some numbers. So my career for a living is I'm an engineer. And when I went to school, we found that engineers have to, in order to solve a lot of their problems, they have to make what's called assumptions. And it is information that you don't know to be absolutely true, but if it were true, your math would be a lot better. So for me, I make one assumption when I do all of the math that I do for Force of Will. And my assumption is that within a single rarity, that not one card is printed more than another. So what that means is, like in this most recent set, when I'm talking about full art super rares, I'm saying that there is not more Anubis than there is Crow Tengu. Like there is 1,000 of each of those, right? That's it. So when I go about that math and I break it down, I'm able to kind of extend it out and find out exactly how much of a card exists. And I use that to determine kind of what the real rarity is. And I can tell you in New Dawn Rises, it's the opposite direction that we think it is. So
Interesting.
So, when you said the real rarity, are you saying like super rares might not be as rare as previous super rares from other sets, or
Absolutely.
that like, oh, okay,
yeah, absolutely. So math-wise, I tracked it out, and for NDR on average, few minor variations for some people that they've reported, but for the most part, you get 4 full art super rares, 8 full art rares, 8 full art uncommons, and 16 full art commons. Okay, and then in each of those boxes, you also got 10, and for the most part, it was 1 of each of the super rares, right? I know your guys' box kind of went along those lines, right? You ended up getting like 1 of each. So like in a box, you received, between full arts and not full arts, you received 14 super rares. Like that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. There's only 36 packs, and 14 of those had a super rare in it. So like that's not so super rare to me.
right, yes,
But at the end of the day, when you look at it, when I look at specific rarities, I look at how much of a single card was printed, right? So let's say 10,000 boxes of NDR were printed, okay? If I said that there are 4 full art supers in every box, then I'm telling you that there is 40,000 full art super rares in circulation. If there are 10 full art super rares that I could have, then that means each one has 4,000 copies in circulation. Okay? So essentially, that's like how many super rares, how many full arts did I get in the box divided by how much availability there was. So it's like 4 divided by 10, that's like 40%. You have a 40% chance of pulling any single full art super rare in a box. Okay? If I do that same math for rares, okay, there are 8 full art rares in a box. And there are 25 different rares that exist. Okay? So 10,000 times 25 is 250,000 divided by 8. What that ends up being is about 32%. So what you're at is you're at 40% for super rares. You have a 40% chance of getting any of your full art super rares. You have a 32% chance of pulling any specific full art rare. Then, same thing for uncommons. Literally in a box, you pull the same amount of uncommons as you pull rares in full arts. Really? And you have 35 different options for uncommons. That brings it down to 23%. So when we talk about this, and then yeah, commons, they were 16 for 40, so that was right at 40%. So you literally, there is the exact same number of full art of a specific full art common as there is of a specific full art super rare. Same quantity. So in this case, when you're looking at the rarity of these cards, your full art uncommons are way rarer than your full art super rares. And to prove this, I actually I figured this out back in Time Spinning Witch, because they did that. After ADK, they absolutely killed the distribution of this, and I figured that out quickly. And so I held on to my full art powerless Dragonoids, and everybody was selling them down at like $2 or whatever, and I'm like, no, that's wrong. And so I waited, and I texted my friend up in Michigan, Josh Borsma, and I was like, I'm going to sell this card for $10. And he said, okay. And so 3 months later, I actually sold that card for $10 online because stockout was happening. I was the highest price because nobody else thought that card was worth $10. But it sold. It absolutely sold because the full art uncommons in Time Spinning Witch were also more rare than the full art supers.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. And so yeah, these distributions, like this is just where we're at. The last time that we were actually anything close to equal, I would say, was Advent of the Demon King, and everything, like the exact same copies of a card were printed for supers, rares, and uncommons. The exact same copy, like numbers across the board. They were all at 20% chance because of the way that ADK was distributed. So yeah, crazy.
That's fascinating. So I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around this and get deeper into it. Like, is that the same distribution level for non-full arts, or is that like a completely different?
So for me, as a seller, and because I only sell the full arts, right? That's where all of my focus is. But right. I mean, you could also make the same arguments, because like when we increased like NDR for non-full arts, you receive 10 supers. And in Winds of the Ominous Moon, you only received 8 in the ones that had rulers. In the ones that didn't have rulers, you actually only received 9, or you actually received 1 more. And so instead of a ruler, you got 1 more base rare, super rare. In Time Spinning Witch, you only received 8 supers. And in ADK, I think you actually only received 7 in ADK. So, like, we've upticked the amount of supers that you get. And also because they decreased the print runs again. Or not the print runs, but the set size. Like, you're now also your rares in this set. Your rares are about kind of what your uncommons are. Anybody that opens up boxes, you'll kind of find that you'll have your playset of uncommons about when you'll have your playset of rares as well, just the way that it works out. So yeah, it's and this is actually kind of what the company was pushing for. I know in one of the surveys that came out 3 months ago, they had mentioned that, or they had asked everyone, they were like, how do you buy Force of Will? What is your stuff? And my answer was, I buy 3 boxes every set. And that was actually a lot of people's answers. A lot of people's answers were, I buy 3 boxes, and then I just trade to get the rest of whatever I need. And so Force of Will was like, cool. Well, if everybody just does this, then we'll try to make sure you have your playset after 3 boxes. And the only way to do that is to throw Rarity out the window. It's basically you're kind of at Vingolf status at that point, where you know if you buy 2 boxes of Vingolf, you got a playset of everything. For the most part, right now for NDR, if you buy 3 boxes, you kind of have a playset of everything. You know.
So do you think this is gonna change a lot of the market, or do you think, I guess, because it seems to me like in this style of how they're distributing stuff, that really what's gonna drive the prices are desirability and actual demand of the power level of a card. And if they keep, ideally if they keep the power levels in the super rare, rarity, then they should, be even though they're all the same rarity, the super rares should still go for a higher price, right?
So interesting enough, and this is where I think I love Force of Will, right? How many of your decks that you play with right now have commons in them?
Pretty much all of them.
Every single one of them, because commons aren't shit cards in this game. Uncommons are not shit cards in this game. You don't have to be running only rares and super rares to be successful in this game, right? So your good cards are scattered everywhere in this game. So last set we had Thought Control in the uncommon slot, right? Or maybe that was Time Spinning Witch. That was a really good card and it carried value for a while, right? So no, I do not believe that super rares. There's no reason. There's no way that it could. There are more super rares printed than just about any other card.
Yeah.
If you can, yeah. I was joking around with my friends at locals, and I had 3 booster packs, and I'm like, there's gonna be 3 super rares. And sure shit it was. I was like, yep, here's one. Yep, here's one. Yep, here's one. So the market's gonna be flooded with super rares. They're not gonna carry any value. But the cool part about this game is that you have the bling part. You have the bling aspect. And so there is always financial value in every single one of those full arts. Your uncommons, your commons. And one of my best examples is I filled an order, I think it was 6 months ago, and it looked like just a bunch of eclectic cards. And I was just I'm like, wow, okay, this is weird. Here's a full art, there's a full art, this is full. And I'm looking at all of them, and I'm like, oh wait, these are all women with really large breasts. I was like, oh yeah, okay, here we go. so and it was just yeah, all right, yeah, here's somebody that just wants a bunch of full art cards of big busty women. Cool. The art
it must
sells.
have been that Magic the Gathering guy, purple whatever. It's probably his cards.
Purple and cheated, yeah. I like to think that somebody's listening. Oh, that's me.
yeah.
I had it
already. They laughed.
Yeah, but I can't remember. It was the Vampire Maiden Girl, or the Vampire Butler. I don't know.
Yeah.
She's a garbage card, absolutely garbage. But she is a very busty woman, and so all of these cards have value for more than just playability. Yeah. But that's the other thing is don't underestimate your commons and uncommons. I do not know why, but Spinning Aquasol is still a valued card, even though that card has never seen a GP in its life. Spinning Aquasol is still 70, 80 cents, maybe up to $1 for a common that everyone probably has a million of.
Yeah.
It's just weird. I would just say open your mind to not just going off of the rarity that's on the bottom of the card.
Yeah. So do you think like do you think there's like a placebo effect then for a lot of people where, you know, they'll pull this super rare, or they'll pull that stuff and try it? Like, do you think that's gonna does that bleed into the market at all? Like where people are listing super rares higher?
Oh, I mean, but that's the beautiful thing about the market. Yeah, absolutely. People are going to try. Go on eBay and just see how ridiculous some people think these cards are. Like they're not that expensive. But that's the good thing about TCG Player is that essentially all of your sellers are on one screen, and you can see which ones are absolutely crazy. You know, so there has to be, at the end of the day, there has to be a giant market consensus for something to actually go over, or it be sold overvalued. Like everybody has to be on the same page, and TCG Player isn't really good with that. You know, everybody's just trying to get to that lowest price so that we're the first name you see. Like that's how TCG Player works. So there's very few instances where people will make inklings like I did for the last days or stuff like that, where you're just like, I'm not gonna follow the path on this one. I'm gonna list it for higher, and we'll see what happens. Sometimes they just don't sell. So like that's the beauty of this game. You know, it's the market decides. You guys decide. You, the buyers. If you want a card bad enough to pay $20 for it, then that'll be a $20 card. If you don't, then it'll just keep tinkling down until it gets to that price range where you do want to buy it. You know.
That's really interesting.
But back to what I think one of the other things when we talk about the placebo is like I remember my first experiences with Force of Will in Twilight Wanderer, and I was at a pre-release and I cracked my first full art, and this was back when they were stamping them gold, and oh my goodness, that felt amazing. And it ended up being like that Phoenix guy that was like a 3 red 1 something that just was unplayable ever, but man, I felt so good pulling it, right?
Colin played that card.
So when you talk about user experience, I think this is actually a really good time for this because there's a lot of new players cracking packs, and you know, not a lot of them are gonna watch this and be like, "Oh, super rares, full art super rares aren't cool." They're gonna feel cool when they open it, right? Like this is just for the select market that actually looks this deep into things. The average player, they're gonna get tickled pink. They keep pulling all these full art super rares.
Yeah. I'm curious on your take on like promos. Do you think they're printing too many of them? Like, for example, I had like over 200 Dark Revolutions. Like, there's just so many out there. It was like 10 cents or less a card.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I like the new model. I love the new model that they're going to do. And without that new model, like I couldn't tell you how many of these cards actually exist because in my locals, I can't get a promo to save my flippin' life. Like distribution wasn't sending them, so I don't know why some people have a million copies of this thing. Like I was really grateful when I got the promos off you at Collinsville, right?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, cool. I didn't have these. I'm glad that somebody had a million of these and was selling them for like 10 cents, but. No, and so for me, I love the promos, and I love that the promos are more for high value cards. At the end of the day, the promo's not textured, and the promo is an additional art. So there are some aspects to where the value of the card will drop because there are now more in circulation, right? Whether or not it's too much, too little, I don't know, but I know that the old values will still hold because they're new arts. You know, and I think the art plays a lot into this game. You know.
So you'd, I don't know if, unless I missed it. So you talked about how the different rarity distribution is, especially compared to like ADK and all that stuff. What was your, and you're talking about how the full arts and all that is sort of benefited from that. But what was your preferred distribution of the cards and their rarity? Was it 80K, pre-80K and all that, or is it how they've done it since then?
So I would say for me, this new way that we're going about it, I do enjoy this. I think as long as people understand what the real rarity is, no one should really get mad about it. But I love that there are no longer J rulers in the packs. I love that we have them all in the starter decks. Like, I think that was really important. Yeah. And I do love their new secrets. I love their new secret rares, and I love the distribution that they have on those. Like, I severely undersold mine. Like, I got one at a pre-release, and I'm guessing at how many I'm gonna get before like it's done, and I'm like, cool, let's list this for like $50, and it sold in 2 hours, and I'm like, I might have severely undersold that, because I was like, man, I think if this is anything like their other chase cards, I'm like, there's gonna be plenty of these to go around. I was very wrong. Yeah. I was very wrong. There's not a lot of those to go around, and they are super well sought after cards. So I like the way they're doing things now. For me, it satisfies the player base. I still have a market. Like, there's no issues there. Like, I can still sell cards. So I'm happy with the way it is.
So you said you're glad they took out the rulers and stuff. Are you glad that there isn't any sort of single guaranteed card per booster box, or do you prefer that, or did you prefer it? Granted, I don't think they always did it correctly, but did you prefer at least having a guaranteed card when you bought a booster box?
Well, I mean, I think right now, no. I didn't like having a guaranteed card. At the end of the day, like, for the most part, it was never really actually guaranteed the one that I wanted, right? So, like, if I'm, like, especially when they were doing rulers in the past, like, the fact that we don't have rulers is a really nice breath of fresh air after Raya Cluster, because that was a mess. They did Ancient Knights right, and then it just kind of went downhill from there. And so not having those, I think, is great. I mean, at the end of the day, you still have your 10 super rares that are guaranteed if you buy a box, you know. I think right now, until more people play the game, there is no incentive to open up booster boxes unless you're wanting the cards to play for yourself. Like, that's really where Force of Will's market is right now. Is you don't crack booster boxes for value, you crack it for playing. And I think with that mindset, not having to guess on which ruler you're going to get in a booster box, I think that's awesome. Yeah. No.
Picky, backing off of that, we had this discussion last week, so I'd be curious your thoughts on this. Because you said there's no incentive to buy the booster box unless you're getting the cards for yourself, and if you've bought in 3 booster boxes, there isn't really that need to buy another booster box. And that's where I'm kind of at right. I think I got 2 booster boxes, and I'm pretty set. I feel like I'll probably just trade for the remainder. But what would you? The one thing we had talked about last week was sort of supplemental product, and I had said that what I want is something like stuff that like Pokemon or Magic does, where there's these elite trainer boxes or other sort of types of things where it's like I don't want to buy a booster box, but I'd be down to drop $20 to $40 on some sort of little product that comes with booster packs and some other sort of random knickknacks and stuff like that, to sort of get me by until the next set release and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on that type of stuff?
So I think there is a huge untapped market right now for Force of Will accessories. Everybody wants them. Nobody can get them. And if I don't know, if there was like Magic's equivalent of like a fat pack, or like I see them all the time, the those things for Pokemon where the coins are in them, and like the weird overly large size cards, like those would absolutely be fine.
Oversized cards.
Personally, I think my favorite thing that I've ever seen was back in the original Ravnica when they did the fat packs. There was like a novel. There was a novel in that fat pack, and so like I got like a 300-page book that came with this that was just like lore. It was lore for Ravnica, and I was in love with that fat pack. It was like the best value I'd ever had. So if I could buy 9 booster packs of Force of Will and get a Force of Will lore book, Yes.
That actually.
Sign me
Or-
up.
or just like it comes with a nice little like 5x7 photo print that's like a full art of some popular car art or something like
gorgeous. Gorgeous. Yeah, anything. But yeah, and then like, but essentially what you got to do there is like, you can't print too many of them. Like I would say if they're trying to do something like that, it needs to be like a holiday thing, and it would just be like a November December thing, just to let your mom and dad who have no idea what in the world Force of Will are, they can just wander into their LGS and be like, my son plays this game and I don't know what to get for him. Oh, here's this thing that everybody else loves, and it's conveniently boxed for you, and you don't have to guess what set to buy.
Yeah.
Little holiday box. Yeah, I think I remember like it was like 3 years ago, and I think Magic still does it, but they do like holiday fat packs. I think there's some supplemental product where like it was like a holiday like I think it was like a fat pack with like the card holders and stuff. People weren't very happy about that, but I think they could do it really well. Okay, I have a question. What do you think about like commander sets that they like? Obviously, you know, epic stories, but like if they started to like do something like Magic does, where they release a new, you know, commander only like decks. Do you think there's any market for that? Or
So I would say no right now, only because our player base is so low. You know, I think we also need to be around for a couple more years till the draw of that really happens. You know what I mean? Like Epic Stories is kind of like our closest thing to Commander right now, or like what they're doing in Europe, where they're doing, was that Genesis? Yeah, so like, but that right now, when we talk about it, there is still plenty of product. There is still plenty of product out there in distributions, sealed boxes from like Grimm, Alice, and all that stuff. So like, the availability is already there, and like you guys talked about it, that thing that Rudy did, where he was just like, yeah, I bought all of this old crap and I'm gonna sell it to you for like pennies. Like that's still a thing. So like, I am very weary if they wasted time reprinting some cards.
right.
Because we already have plenty of cards, and especially the old ones, right? So I would say there are plenty of cards in existence that we don't need to really get into reprints, but I would encourage the company to officially recognize one of these kind of singleton legacy formats, whether it be Genesis or Epic Stories, officially recognize it.
But not actually support it with cards.
But then it could come later. Yeah, it could come later. As soon as they recognize that this is a real thing, then they can maybe start to design for it. But I would say to come out the gate would probably be a bad call, and it'd be a waste of resources, which we know Force of Will does not have a lot of resources.
I have a question about that then. Do you think they're, I guess, I wouldn't say like misguided, but do you think they're like their efforts to push like Wander format is like misguided, or do you think it's just like, do you think they're like the game's ready for that?
So I think so I know that the players kind of want it, but I don't know if it's the majority that does. At the end of the day, like in Magic, I played Modern, but I stayed far away from Legacy because I wasn't around for Legacy, right? So to catch up on all of that is very, very frustrating for me. Modern I was around for, right? I was there, the original Ravnica and all that stuff. So like when I was playing in the last couple of years for Magic, Modern didn't scare me. I kind of knew everything. So now imagine yourself, like we were pretty close to being done, right? But the player base stayed. We kind of rocked this thing, and we're maybe on an uptick right now with this new set, and we're getting new players. Now imagine scaring the crap out of new players with Regalia and Chant Standbys and even some old crap that we gotta just forget about, like Break and stuff, Stealth. You know, there's a lot of stuff that we went through as players back then that are still around, but there's not a lot of us. So I think right now the company's focus on New Frontiers is the right idea. I believe they are doing the right thing where they are sprinkling in Wander events, but not pushing it heavily. You know, so like I would like, if of all of our GPs, if one of them was a Wander event, and only one. You know, new players aren't going to go to Wander events, and we need those new players to save our game, right? To keep our game going. Yeah. So I don't think. I think they want to help us, those of us that have been around and aren't scared of all those old mechanics and have all those old cards and want to play with them. But, like, they need new players to stay alive and to grow. And so that's where their focus is going to be. And so I don't think it's misguided.
What were your thoughts on the sealed events and how they mostly got removed except for the one?
Dude, that makes me so sad. So sad. Sealed, I don't know. And maybe I'm misguided because I love pre-releases. I love drafts. I think they're so fun. I think those kind of events, like they take skill. Don't get me wrong. They take skill. But there is a dash of any given Sunday with those kinds of events, right? Like anybody could, with a little bit of luck, get the nuts, right? Yeah. And so, like, I don't know. I kind of like those. And yeah, the way they just completely abandoned it, I was like, oh man, that is terrible. Because plus, like, also from a value aspect, they were charging you the same for that event that they do for New Frontiers. And you got to walk away with all your cards. Like, so just from
that brings in the question of why they don't do product price support for the other events if they were able to do that for the same price. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. And so, like, that's why for me, I was just like, hell yeah, like, if I'm gonna go to an event, like, and I haven't been grinding in New Frontiers for like the last 2.5 years, right? Or if I'm a new player and I'm like very unfamiliar with everything that was happening back in Lapis, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll just go and do this sealed event where these are all cards that I just, like, we're kind of familiar with, and yeah, we'll do this. I loved it, and I wish they wouldn't have ran away from it so fast.
Yeah. What's your thought on sealed product as, like, prize support? Like, I know we came from Pokemon, and Pokemon had started to incorporate, before their money prizing was, here, first place gets 2 cases, and it breaks down from there. So that person can then turn around to the vendors who were there and just sell it and essentially walked away with money. Like, do you think there should be sealed product as, like, prize support?
So, I have no issues currently with the prize supports that we were getting at GPs. I am very excited for what Svetlana is doing next weekend. I think that will be all brand new, like that concept of how you support your events, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So, I don't know, because like it's an interesting concept. Like, if I were to go to an event and I won 3 boxes of NDR, I'd feel pretty, like, bleh.
Yeah.
You know, because, like, I already have all of my cards.
Yeah.
So, but getting one of those metal-plated cards, yeah, that's pretty cool. But I'm all about the special weird things that they do for winners, right? Like, where they're just like, yeah, here, we made this very special thing for you as a winner. You know, they're not just giving you the stuff that they made for everybody else.
Like, you are now a card.
But I did really like the prizing that they did for Worlds, where they said, like, okay, if you got top 8 at Worlds, like, we'll give you cards for a year.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about it. So, like, that would help me. Like, if I'm like, all right, I only got to buy 1 instead of 3 to get my stuff, like, that is good. That is good support. But I would say, for the most part, sealed product, the people that are there, they might already have most of the stuff that they need, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, like, the timing of the GP, instead of getting sealed product, it follows that same venue of Worlds, where you just get a voucher for the immediate next set. You get 3 boxes of just that set after that GP or something like that.
Yeah, no issues with that one. I like that.
But we'll probably wrap up here. Did you guys have any other questions you want to ask? Or is that it?
I couldn't think of anything. I think this was fascinating. Looking into some of this stuff.
So Josh, will you be at the 10K?
I will not.
Okay.
My first child is due in 13 days.
Nice.
Oh,
So I am.
Early congrats.
Thank you, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's
Yep.
exciting.
We are nesting and getting everything ready here, and
Gotcha.
so I am rooting for some friends, but not participating.
Yeah, I got you.
That's an cakes.
That's pretty good. But yeah, well, thank you for being here and taking the time with us.
No problem. Thanks a lot for having me. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah. And we'll see everybody next time.
Bye.